Oh, part two, because the first take was blurry as hell, boy. But yeah, what's going on, Tubi? I am Thunderbird. I'm back again with an even more important issue than the last time. You know what I mean? But yeah, real quick, I just want to say, um, I am Thunderbird, and that's all you need to know, really. That's all you need to know. But yeah, first off, I gotta show up the shirt real quick. It says Purple Gym. That's all it says. It has holes in it. Looks like I got bitten by insects, but it's actually a really nice t-shirt. It's a little oversized, but you know how it is. But yeah, real quick, I just want to talk about an issue that kind of came to my mind today that I think is like extremely important and vital for society. I think it's been plaguing the world for the last 80 years. And that issue is fame and influence. That's it. Fame and influence being used for negative purposes and things that just hurt general society. That's pretty much all. I came to the realization that, you know, there are a lot of wealthy people and influencers who do philanthropy and do help the general population. I don't know if you saw that moth. That was kind of cool. Yeah, it's a little Easter egg. But there are a lot of wealthy people that do a lot of philanthropy and they do help the general population. But I'm also noticing a new trend where a lot of the famous people, quote unquote, and, you know, the influential individuals, we'll call them double I's, they are using their wealth and influence for purposes that are generally evil, or just, you know, on bug, or just generally not beneficial for society or anyone but themselves. You know what I mean? Yeah, I feel like that's actually something that doesn't really get addressed very often, but I think it does need to be addressed because there are so many different ways that people with wealth and influence can help others, but they don't. There are a lot that do. You know, there's a lot of individuals. I'm out here in the middle of the night, so there's a lot of moths going around. But yeah, there are a lot of individuals who do help others, and they do, you know, create good for the world, or create good for general society. But there's a lot who don't as well, and I feel like, I feel like that is an issue that does need to be addressed more often. Yeah. Just for example, it seems like, you know, over the last 7 or 8 decades. No, I'm done. I'm not gonna do it. But yeah, over the last 7 or 8 decades, it seems like the most influential people in the world have also been some of the most blatantly, I don't want to say evil, because they're not inherently evil, but they are some of the most maltempered people in the world, if that makes sense. And you know what? Thunderbird doesn't like that. Thunderbird doesn't really like that. I really do think that these people should be, you know, a little bit nicer, you know, a little bit more actively trying to benefit general society. You know what I mean? But yeah, it was just something that's been on my mind. It's been weighing heavy on me. Yeah. And another thing about fame and influence is, you know, it actually is pretty much a social gimmick, if you know what I mean. You can have fame and influence as in you're in the minds of people who are kind of underinformed or kind of easily susceptible to influencing and, you know, manipulation. But once you are in their minds, they will do one of two things. They will either support your cause, or they will actively go against it once they know what you stand for. And I find that concept to be, you know, that is really a conundrum. That is really something to think about. I feel like that's been going on for the last 7 or 8 decades, honestly. That really is something that can change. It really is. And I think we should. I think first it starts with not falling for attempts at controlling your mind, attempts at controlling your behavior, thoughts, and actions because one person gave you an emotion or gave you a certain feeling that what they say is correct and you should follow the leader. I don't think you should do that. I think you should always question everything, you know, assert your own self-worth. Bug, relax. Assert your own self-worth. You know, be very stable in your mind. Be very sure of yourself and your ideas and thoughts and behaviors. And don't just give in to someone who's rude to you or who appears like they know more than you, but in reality, they don't know your experiences. They don't know what you know. They don't know what I know. All they want is control over your thoughts, actions, and behaviors, and your money. Which one is more important? Yet to be decided. Yet to be decided. But yeah, that's just something I really wanted to talk about on Thunderbird. I feel like that's going to be a much more pressing issue in the future, especially as it gets easier to communicate with others. Yeah, you know, through the use of visuals and audio, you can really put an idea and an image in someone's head of what you're thinking and what you want them to think. And that's something that, you know, either we get overexposed to it as time goes on and we stop reacting to, we stop reacting to it so heavily and we don't let it influence us nearly as much, or it becomes so essential to living that we all just follow whoever can do it best. And I think we need to change that. We need to definitely get the wealthy and influential individuals to do good for the world. That's it. That's all. Just do good for the world and make a positive change. And I might need some bug spray. But yeah, that's it. I just want to say that. And to the guy in my last video who said, I am LARP, you absolutely are, dude. You really are. Congratulations. You are LARP. Well, that's it. That's what I wanted to say. Thunderbird, right back at you, buddy. See you next time.